Hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Ronke Lowell. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like, leave a comment. Good and bad. I do mind if it's bad. Today I want to talk about authenticity. I want you to talk about how to be authentic at work, in business spaces, in professional spaces. And I want to talk about my journey with regards to authenticity. Now, one thing to remember is it depends on your sector and your industry. If you're in a specialist industry like law or medicine, you can have an authentic personality, but obviously once you get into certain spaces, you have to get to the nitty-gritty of your task. So you can't, if you're funny, you can be funny, but when you need to do your job, you've got to do your job when it comes down to the nitty-gritty. So that's one principle you've got to always remember. But I think authenticity really comes down to knowing yourself and knowing who you are. It's really important to undertake the work, whether it's, reading a book, speaking to someone, whether that's a counselor or a coach, writing lists or a journal, so you really get to know yourself. I think the more you know yourself, the easier it is to be authentic in professional and business spaces. I am one of these people who, says often that it's important to be yourself, but you can't give 100% of yourself all the time to every single environment that you enter. And I'll explain to you why. I think for some of us, depending on our backgrounds, it's important to keep a little bit of yourself for yourself to protect yourself when you are outside of a professional space. If you were to give 100% of yourself every single time, and when I say 100% of yourself, I'm talking about your personality. I'm not talking about your work ethic. So obviously, if you want to do a good job, do a good job. But I'm talking about your personality. So I really truly believe that it's important to have, you decide, but I would say, 20%, 30% of your whole personality kept for your private and personal life. Because when you're entering some of these professional spaces, they can be very, very draining. And realistically, it's not possible, I think, and some people may disagree, to be able to show up with that 100% energy all the time and that 100% personality all the time. You need to be able to protect a part of yourself, a portion of yourself, so that when things go wrong or they go right, you know how to navigate and you know how to cope and survive. So when it comes to authenticity, that's one of the keys for me, actually. So you know yourself, know who you are, and then know, okay, how much of yourself can you realistically bring? Now, I think when I say this, some people might not quite understand. And if you really take a minute to assess the message, what I really mean is there are certain aspects of your personality that require a softness, a gentleness, a kind of humor. It require certain aspects of yourself that really aren't for your work or business environment per se. Okay? Now, I don't want you to completely change who you are. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm just saying protect and keep a little element of yourself for yourself in private and personal spaces. Okay? In terms of authenticity, I also think it's important to have a really good network. It's easier said than done. You can't decide who you work with. And in business, yes, you can sometimes choose or attract certain kinds of clients and customers, but overall you can't pick and choose every single person that you come in contact with. So you need a good tribe and a network who understands you, who can be your ambassadors, who get you, right? And who can actually advocate for you when things go wrong, and again, amplify what you do when things go right. So make sure you have a really good network and a really great tribe to encourage you, and that makes it easier to be authentic. Okay, so you've already, once you know yourself and you're not trying to be anybody else, you're not trying to be anybody else in your group or in society, it makes it a lot easier to kind of attract the right network and tribe to yourself, to yourself. And actually, I've just said something that's really important. It's really, really, really important to not try to be somebody else. We are bombarded now in this digital era with lots of images, audio, visual, video, of how things are supposed to be, how people are supposed to be. And actually, you are unique. You are special for a reason. You are, I want you to recognize that who you are is different for a reason. Don't try and be anybody else. Don't try to be like me. Well, you can be like me if you want, but don't try to be like me. Don't try to excessively emulate anybody else just because you think society feels like that person or that's what society wants to see. We have enough of that person. That one person is enough, and they're doing a great job being who they are. Now it's time for you to show up. And I think finally, it does take courage to be authentic. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. Again, it kind of goes back to that societal conditioning. It takes courage. You have to be brave. And being authentic genuinely means, showing up to your purpose. And so let me choose my words. So when I say to your purpose, you have to recognize what your purpose is in a professional and business space, right? So you have to recognize what your purpose is. And once you recognize what your purpose is, you do have to have some courage and be brave. And it's not always easy. And I think that's why this question was asked, and why somebody requested this. And I'd love you, anybody who's watching this, to send more questions and I can make a similar video. But it does take courage. And a lot of us are trapped in our own fear. And that fear tends to hold us back from being who we are. And it's weird. It's weird. But it's funny, right? Like, being who you are should not be radical, but unfortunately, because of the way society is, it tends to be. So I'd like to challenge you to do something that reflects who you are each and every day, even if you do it in private first, and when you're comfortable and confident, do it publicly. Do it in your professional space, do it in your business space, but absolutely take the time to work on yourself and then just be courageous. Authenticity, it seems to require bravery. So be brave. Not easy, but be brave. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts and how you show up and be authentic in your professional and business spaces. Bye, guys.